Welcome to the first episode of the series called The Notebook I Kept Close. It's a separate series from just Brain Noise Poetry because I realize I have some poems I haven't shared with any of you that are in this book that I think you might really like. And if anything, I'm ready to finally open this book. And yes, it does take some courage to share this, so I'm wearing a charm bracelet that I have started since I was 13 years old. So, to figure out which poems to share first, I brought this little acorn, and inside, let me show you what I have. I have these little slips that have different words on them for different themes of the poems that are in this book. I'm going to add more slips as the series progresses to show additional themes of poems that I will be ready to share. So we're going to start off with just 3 poems today. So let's figure out where we're going to start. Mix them up. Okay. Here we go. This one is called Overthinking. So now we are going to turn to the poem in here, and the overthinking poem concept is actually the first poem in here. It says hello on the cover with a really cute little owl. I don't know if you can tell, but the owl is right here. Okay. It's called A Mood Planner, Secret Lines. Good night is always difficult to time. We say it to one another knowing our nights begin at different hours. I tried being a night owl. I tried being a morning runner. Then I realized I am a mood planner. Someone who wants to prepare to wish you sweet dreams before sleep finds you. And good morning before the sun does. Because this mind knows what it's like to mistake life for a dream. You live it, you wake, you keep walking, leaving each moment behind like a story you only read once. Except life isn't only dreams. Some people carry nightmares, long after they open their eyes. Some thoughts repeat like a book written in black ink, with secret lines reminding us the goal is allowed to change. Secret green lines, where curiosity never grows up. Secret blue lines insisting that feeling deeply has never been a weakness. Secret purple lines folding around me like your hug. The place where I remember it is safe to speak. And secret yellow lines, soft as tea staining the page, whispering you matter, even when life writes to you quietly. Welcome back to Brain Noise and to this episode where I just read A Mood Planner, Secret Lines. And this poem is important to me because I believe in wishing people a good night and a good morning. And just like the timing of sending that text or making that phone call or walking over to say hello in person, timing does matter. And it's not always easy, even when we plan it out, even when we prepare in advance. I wrote this down because I believe mood really does matter. When I feel happy, it's easier to give that energy and to support people around. When I have to read a book, or when I get to read a book, it's easier to understand when it's explicit and when I don't have to have everything implied in every line read, which is why poetry took some time when I was first reading and writing poems. That's why I write about the secret red lines and green lines and blue and purple and yellow, because to me, colors all have different meanings to each person. And just like a book can represent something deeper for each one of us, I believe colors do the same thing. So thank you for listening, and I can't wait to share the next poem with you. Whether it's morning, night, or noon, I hope your day is going well. I hope you're having a minute to just breathe. I hope you're enjoying this view while I was out for a walk and I saw this bird and I realized I just had to share it with you. I just had to take you to this bridge, just like the one I wrote about. It took courage to explore. It took courage to leave the house. It took courage to say, hey, I'm going to try a new spot today. Or I'm going to come back to an old one and realize it might be a little different, but that's okay. Nature is constantly changing, and I feel we are too. Even when we look in the mirror and the view feels the same, we know inside it's a little different, isn't it? If you ever come back to a lake or a river, you'll notice there will be new rocks around. The tide might be a little different. You might see trash on it and say, why is this here? Maybe you pick it up. But thank you. And I had to pause just to take in this view because nature doesn't ask anything of us except to be here and to say we too belong. Now for the second poem I'm going to share. Let's go back in here and see which one are we going to pick? Okay, let's go with Mending. This one's titled The Thread. My grandmother kept a tin filled with thread. None of it matched. Tiny pieces wrapped around, old wooden spools. As a child, I wondered why she saved what seemed too short to use. Years later, I reached for that same tin. Every color repaired something. A sleeve, a quilt, a button, ready to give up. Maybe the pieces we think are too small to matter are simply waiting for the day something beautiful needs mending. Maybe that includes me. Maybe that includes you. Maybe it includes us. This poem means a lot, just like all of them that I share, but the poem called The Thread was not always easy to read, and why I kept it in this book that I hadn't shared before. My grandma isn't here, and I wrote this poem a while ago. It has been around 12 years now, and it's interesting to me that poetry came when I realized what it's like when you have to write to someone you can't talk to. I think that's why some people write songs. I feel that's why some songs are really just poetry that's sung instead of spoken. So, my grandmother loved to knit and crochet, and it was just interesting to me that the things I would have just tossed away, like when I crochet myself, I like to make weighted blankets, which you might know if you've listened to my other poems. And when I cut the thread, I save the scraps, but a lot of times I don't. It depends. If I'm at home, I save the scraps. If I'm in public, I realize to just throw them away. And I started wondering why. And that's when I realized when I crochet at home, I do it near this little quilt that she made. And that's when I realized that everything we do matters. And that the things that others would just throw away could just be a treasure waiting to be used, something that we found. And it's important because it would have been easier to just say, hey, this shirt, it's ripped, so we can't wear it. Even though it might have just been a tear in the sleeve, but no, she said, let's repair it. And just like a quilt, that takes hours to make. I don't know if you've ever made a blanket. When I make my weighted blankets, it could range from 20-ish hours. And one I took 48 hours because it was a really long one. And you might ask, why didn't I just go to Costco? Why didn't I just buy something on Amazon? It wouldn't feel the same. It's different when you make something with your own hands. It's different when you get to look at the product that you're making and feel it and say, hey, this is better. It's not something that you could just get online. I wanted to make it a certain weight that would calm when nerves are just so tight. They're not ready to speak. They're not ready to come off the page. They're not ready to be said. They're afraid that they will be seen. So, in case you're wondering, yes, I still keep that on of quilting and crocheting. My mom does the same. And I know a few cousins and friends that like to crochet as well. And I feel like working with our hands is different for every person. Some people prefer woodshop. Others might do welding. Maybe you're into drawing or music. But this poem, it's been a long time since I've seen it, and it was important to read it because I think the things we wrote in honor of someone, in remembrance of them, it should be remembered. And that's why I called it Mending, because it mended what felt broken the day I couldn't say hi with her. So I wrote it Mending because it was writing down a memory and saying, hi, you do matter, and it's okay sometimes to cry. Because it's opening your heart so you let new people in and you let other people know that you still remember them. And I don't know if you've ever noticed, but the more people you meet, you start seeing parts of them in others. Like you might meet someone and they'll say a line and then someone else will say something similar and you'll realize we do impact each other with every decision that we make. So this poem is to say the thread, we're all a thread in each other's lives. We don't have to worry, the thread stays. The thread matters, and you don't have to cut it just because you're nervous. Because sometimes the threads get a little skinnier. Sometimes they don't stay nice and strong. Sometimes you have to wrap thread around the old thread to repair it. I know I have some cats at home, and they like to knead in my blankets, and I have to go back and repair it. I don't just throw them away. It's worth it to enjoy it. And to not worry that it might get broken or it might have a scratch at some point. It's called living and enjoying it. So thank you for listening to this poem. And now let me share the next one. Now for the third and final poem for this episode. Let's see. Let's try a different color this time. Like before, we got belonging. Let's see what this poem is about. This one's titled, Nothing Was Ordinary. A child fills their pockets with smooth stones. Everyone laughs. They're just rocks, they say. But when each pebble is placed on the ground, one becomes a bridge, which takes courage to say, I'm here to build. I'm ready to create. One becomes a staircase saying, I'm moving forward even when afraid. One becomes a fireplace to say, I'll be your safe place. I'm here to keep you warm. One becomes a mountain people climb together to say, yes, it takes work, but I'm here and I'll wait. The final realization, nothing was ordinary. It wasn't just pebbles waiting to be found. It was pebbles that were there to remind us that we do belong. We just might have a different journey. We just might place the pebble in a different spot, but the stones do matter, and we matter, and we do belong. The notebook I kept closed is finally open. I had to send fireworks because this is a proud moment for me. It's being vulnerable in a different way. Yes, I've been sharing poems for a while now on my channel, but I wanted to try something different. I wanted to try sharing poems from a notebook that I had kept closed for years. I got this notebook back when I was 17, and I was learning how to drive. Yes, I was learning how to drive a car, and I thought, let me just write down thoughts. But I was told it wasn't poetry from teachers and other people that I would share similar thoughts. Never pages from the exact book, but pages that felt similar. I'd read little parts, not the full dialogue, and be told that that's just an idea and that I should consider something else. Until recently, I realized that even back in college, I'd read poems, and I noticed each one had a different style, each one had a different voice, and I realized my voice didn't have to change. I could just share my thoughts, and if others agree it's poetry, then that's fine by me. If they don't, then that's okay. It's just thoughts that I wanted to speak out loud instead of keeping it in a notebook that was in a drawer that I thought would never be found. Not because it was lost, but because I had been nervous to open it up again. There were thoughts that I wrote down that, when I read aloud, bring me to memories, and I think that's important. So yes, we talked about overthinking. And I know we started with that, but I think that's really relevant to life because we think a lot. We might be thinking, oh no, do we have to go out on the 4th of July? Do we have to socialize? Do we have to get an outfit in order to look patriotic? Maybe. Mending was the word that stuck with you. Maybe there's things you're still trying to work on. Maybe there's parts of you that you're not sure if it's broken or if it's something that you can repair. Maybe it was belonging. If you would like, type in the comment what word was right for you tonight. Was it overthinking, mending, or was it belonging? Because all of them fit me. But maybe one of them or two. If all three, then that's great too. And I'm not saying great because it's exciting to overthink. I'm saying great because it's exciting to be able to label feelings. For a long time, I think that's why it's easier to just want to go and play a sport. I think it's easier to just want to go do art. I think it would be easier to do anything else that's an outlet versus sitting down and saying, hey, this hurt, and then later this healed, and later this loved me in the way I didn't know it could. So thank you. And I know I say that often, but I'm not used to having a group of people fully listen. That is probably what also inspired me to be a teacher, is because I want to give others room to breathe. I want to help people feel safe to speak. But I realized that kids that didn't get to be in my classroom would find me around lunch and say, can I share a thought with you? And of course I would say yes. And when they told me you should have a channel because other people at different ages need a place that they can just speak. So this is Brain Noise, where you are not weak for sharing feelings. It's not weak to feel. It's a strength. And if you're not ready to feel yet, that's okay. You could save it for a different moment of the day. But thank you for coming with me on these different walks and listening to these different poems and processing the feelings as well and listening to the different stories, because each poem is a story. And I think that's why we love bridges too, because it's something to walk across and to look at a new view. I think that's why staircases are fun, even though they can be scary. So yeah, I wanted to show you this again and to say that this was something that I had been thinking about doing for a while. And I'm really proud that I just hit play, because that poem a while ago that I wrote about pushing play instead of pause, it kind of made me think, okay, I've been pushing pause on opening this book. So I'm pushing play, and I can't wait to see you another day.